can I ask you the question? Because I don't know exactly the story of Australia, and I like to talk with retired people who have some experience. And in my documentary, I spoke with, like I told you, the immigration issues, the social Aboriginal issues in Alice Springs, the labour market in Melbourne, a lot of things. According to you, what's the biggest problem that Australia must face?
That the Aboriginals face?
No, about
Australia?
everything. Australia. About financial, about
the Commonwealth government.
Social.
No. Socially.
Sorry, can you speak because there's too much wind?
Sorry. Oh.
Stronger.
From a well, the Indigenous population, I think it's a separate question to what all our other problems are. But there's an issue that will only be resolved with education and adequate jobs. The difficulty with that is if they want to live on their land, it's always remote. So I see some difficulties on how to provide them with meaningful employment, to keep the cycle going, that they can be gainfully employed and, and do their traditional, activities as well as be integrated into modern society. And in some places it's worked, but the more remote it is, the harder it seems to be for a lot of the guys. But I don't know. In New South Wales, they're more integrated, but when you go and see Alice Springs or some of these other remote places, where they just have come into town and, it's really, it's an eye-opener for a Sydney person. You don't see that sort of thing to that extent in Sydney with the Indigenous population.
I think, yes, we cannot compare the situation in New South Wales and in Alice Springs because Aboriginal have not the same way of life, and the government of every state is different.
Yeah, that certainly is. Yeah.
But do you think that white fellas care about the situation, or they are interested in the Aboriginal situation, or they don't mind about the situation?
I work for, my boss was when I worked in Sydney, was he was the Aboriginal, he was the native title coordinator for the state, so he was in charge of the native title claims for New South Wales. So I got fairly well mixed up in the needs of the New South Wales Aboriginal and land rights and what the state was prepared to do, And Bob had the principle that, what are you guys worried about whether we give it to the Aboriginals or sell it to a developer? We don't get any return from the Lands Department. So, he couldn't see any reason why we shouldn't proceed with, giving the Aboriginal communities a good opportunity to make claims to the land, and the Lands Act's a directive. They're doing the same thing in the other states, and you hear in the papers, where they're getting larger and larger grants, where they can call their own, so to speak, so there is progress, but we go some way and then we put our head in the sand. I'm pretty sure of that. And, we don't seem to take the final step, or we don't have an answer that it is long term. We seem to have band-aids, and then 10 years later the communities still have the same whinges and the same problems. I really don't know how we, in the longer term, whether we go on the right way or not, or the Commonwealth just wastes their money. But the state's in the position to provide them with grants, and I think that's a step forward. How that land is managed and how they get income from those areas is something for the future. So unless they've got the land in a legal sense, not just the history sense, well, they can't do much. economically to improve it. So if they got the land or got civic rights over the land, maybe something could come of it.
Okay, very interesting. I just changed my phone.